good morning, and welcome to this month's OakCrest Insight. Now, in this video today, I want to take a second and kind of a few minutes, recap and highlight what happened last year in the markets and in our economy. So, after a tough year in the markets, where pretty much everything was down, right? Bonds, stocks in 2022. Last year was the exact opposite. Now, we found this chart that shows through the end of December 14th, but very close to the year numbers too. What 23 was a reversal of 2022's pain. So as you can see, US stocks and international stocks were up double digits last year. 2022, you had the US aggregate index for bonds, which is really the bond index, down 13%. But last year, bonds turned around, being up about 4%. Kind of mostly from November and December gains. It wasn't just a smooth ride though, through a whole year for bonds and stocks. 23 was also a year carried by what investors are referring to as the Magnificent Seven stocks. These are the likes of Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Nvidia, and through December 15th, very close through the end of year two, they were collectively up 104% for last year. Now this is enticing to some, but one thing I remind all investors is not to chase returns, but remember risk as well. So since December of 21, here's a chart through December 15th. The returns for the S&P 500 versus those 7 tech stocks were almost the same. But in 22, a few of these tech stocks were down double what the S&P 500 was down. Amazon, for example, was down 49.6% in 2022. So here are some of the events last year as we look back that had significant impacts. We had China finally opening up from COVID. We had Silicon Valley Bank and other banks going bankrupt and are concerned about our banking environment. We had OpenAI launching, spurring these tech stocks. The Fed paused raising rates after 2 years of aggressive hikes and signaled that they're going to start looking to cut rates this year. Inflation was cut by more than half from its highs. Now, when we look at our government, we had a U.S. government suspend the debt ceiling. McCarthy was ousted as U.S. Speaker. And then the last big event for last year was the start of the Israel-Hamas conflict. Now, why do I show you this graph with over 40 notable events? It's because these events helped shape the market last year. So it's hard to predict what this year is going to bring. But what we do know is that investors are much more optimistic in our economy and the markets than they were a year ago. We'll continue to be here to help guide you through whatever this year brings with your retirement assets. So please join us as our quarterly insight webinar next week as we take a half hour and kind of go into this much more in depth on last year. We look forward to seeing you next month on OakCrest Insight.